guys, Samantha from Jessima Tutorials here, and today I'm going to show you how to create a Sutton slice using polymer clay. Now you're going to want a texture stamp, and this is the one that I have got. I'm not sure if the camera can pick up that pattern very well, but choose any texture stamp you want so long as it is flexible. And then you're going to want a selection of colours. I have butter yellow, orange, cadmium red, pomegranate red, alizarin crimson, and navy blue, all in Primo. And you want your clay to be nice and soft because you're going to be taking that, grabbing a little bit, working that in your fingers to make it nice and warm and soft. The softer it is, the easier this will be. So just give that a good warm in your fingers. Then take that, and I'm going to find the middle of my pattern, and I'm going to stick that down, press it right into the pattern. Then grab a tissue blade, and that's not the right one. Use a flexible one. I find flexible ones are easier to use. And then shave over the pattern, and you should be left with a with clay only in the indented areas of the texture. And then basically the entirety of the Sutton slice is just going and filling out those areas and then shaving off the leftover clay. And I'm going to do this in a semi-skinny blend. It's not going to be a perfect blend because the colours aren't going to be perfectly blended together, but there is going to be a general migration of the colours going from this very light kind of orangey yellow through to orange and then out to the reds. Alright, and I've laid all of the colours out. Sometimes it's easier to first set in the pieces and then start shaving it, because often when you go to stick in new pieces, your fingers can actually pick the pieces that have already been shaved out of the stamp. So definitely consider doing that if you're having trouble. Alright, and you can check if it's been stamped decently from the back, if your piece is clear. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that blade and I'm going to shave pieces off. And I'm going to do it a little bit at a time. This is not something that you want to rush. Do small, shallow pieces and just work that pattern in. And there is going to be a lot of scrap, and that's fine, that will get used, so don't worry about that. And you just want to work your way around. I find that it's easier to work in a circle, moving towards the center. That can help prevent things, because then you're always shaving relatively speaking in the same direction. Okay, and you can always rotate and continue going. And here's how that looks, and you can see from the back side whether it is clean or not and how the general image is going to look. Then I'm going to take that, and I've got a piece of pearl white clay, which is what my backing is going to be, and you're just going to take that and place that down onto your stamp. And I would recommend using something like a piece of paper or a baby wipe. Take that and burnish it so that it sticks to the clay in the stamp. You want to be really thorough when it comes to this, because when you peel up the stamp, you really want it all to come up in one go. It's much easier if it does that. And also you want to pick up any texture that the coloured clay didn't stick in, and imprint that onto the pearl white so that the pattern remains nice and consistent. Alright, and that should do. Lift that up. Okay, and I can see that that's printed quite well. I'm not sure if you can see. And then I'm going to lay that onto the tile. I'm using a glass tile. You can use a glazed ceramic one too. And press that down. It needs to stick to the tile. Makes it a lot easier if it is stuck. And this also gives you another opportunity to make sure everything's stuck together. Alright, and then you're going to peel this up. And the trick is to go slowly and at a fairly steep angle. There we go, and you can see it came up very clean, and the pattern is really nice. Bring that up and show you how that looks. Let me know what you think in the comments below. You can see that the pearl white picked up some of the little bumps where the clay didn't quite stick. But yeah, that is basically how you create a Sutton slice. What I would then do is just gently tap that with the palm of your hand to make sure that all the pieces are stuck down onto the pearl white, because some of them still might be a little loose. And then from there we can create our earrings. Alright, and these are the cutters that I am going to use. They're one of the pairs that I sell on my Etsy store. There'll be a link in the description below, and I've positioned them so that I can get all of the colours at once. And all you're going to do is just press down, and it should cut right through. And I'm just making sure that I get a nice clean cut, and then you can lift those up. There we go. Lift that up, and those are what the earrings are going to look like. Okay, and then I'm very gently going to lift those up off the tile. I want to be careful not to distort them. There we go. If you shimmy your blade back and forth, you should be able to get them up pretty easily. It will bring up any residue left by the cutter though, so you want to run your finger down the edge just to smooth everything out. And there we go. Place that onto a piece of paper. Bring that over. Just regular printing paper will work. Shimmy the other one up. And I apologise for the background noise today. There's a really quite severe storm going on outside, so that's probably what you're hearing. Yeah, and there we go. And those are quite nice as little mirror earrings. Alright, and I want to do something about the back, especially since I have all of this scrap clay left over, so let's do something with that. Okay, and I've just trimmed out the parts of the coloured pearl that was left over so that the parts that don't have any colour on them can get popped straight back into the packet. And then together I am going to mix that up. And let's see, what should I make from this? I'm going to chop it up first to distribute the colours a little more, especially since there's some pearl white there now. And I think I'm probably just going to do a simple marble. Just press that back together again. Okay, roll that up, compressing it together. Okay, and then I'm just going to chop slices from that. Not too concerned about getting that perfect. And then I'll place those together. Square up the sides, and I'm encouraging the distortion. Grab a roller, and then I'm going to thin this out quite a bit because I want to add it to the backs of my pieces, and I don't want to make the pieces that we've got too much thicker than they already are. Okay, and I'm going to run that through my pasta machine on the thinnest setting. And here is how that looks. Choose the side that you like the best. The side I had a little bit of ripple, so I had to smooth that out. So this is the side that I want to hide, and this is the side that I'm going to use as the back. So I'm going to place that with the good side facing down, and I'm actually going to do this on a piece of paper, so I'll actually just use the one that I have these on. I'll just scooch those to the side, place that down, and I could have done this before by applying the Sutton slice directly to this, but then I wouldn't have been able to include the pearl white in the pattern, and also I hadn't quite decided what I wanted to do with the back for these pieces. So this is how you can add a backing afterwards. And what I like to do is I like to separate each piece so that I don't end up nicking one while I'm cutting out the other. Then I will grab a flexible blade. I don't like to use a cutter because it will stick and it could possibly distort the shape, so I prefer to go with either a craft knife or my tissue blade, especially when the shape's this easy. If it was something like a circle, then I might use a cutter, but this shape's pretty easy to get with your blade, so I prefer to just go in and get a nice sharp cut without worry about distorting the piece. Then just tap it in gently, make sure that everything is lined up, and that makes the sides look more interesting as well. And then the back has a bit of a pattern, and I've cut it out on a piece of paper so I don't have to worry about there being shiny dents in the back. And I'm going to trim this one too. And there, that's all there is to it. Pop those to the side, and the last little thing I want to do before baking these is I'm going to grab a little bit of this clay right here, and I am going to make myself some tiny beads to match with my earrings. And the leftover clay is always very good for that, so I will use all of the tiny little scrappy pieces for that. What I'm doing right now is just trimming out a piece that's roughly the same size as each other, that way I can get beads that are about the same as each other. Okay, and then just fold that up together. It's going to create a random marble, and I really only want a tiny bead. And I don't want the pattern to be distracting from the main one that we've got, so I want to stick with the very simple pattern. It's just got the same colours. And there, you can see it, that makes quite a nice little bead. And just round that off, making sure that it's a nice consistent shape. And then make one more, and then you're going to bake everything for at least 40 minutes at Primo's recommended temperature for an hour. Did I say an hour? Yes, you're going to bake it for an hour at Primo's recommended temperature, or whichever brand you are using's recommended temperature. And then from there we can either give it a little bit of a glossy finish, or you could use it straight as it is with no sealing, because this is all clay, there's no inclusions, so it doesn't need to be sealed. But yeah. Alright. And once they're finished baking, we're ready to assemble, and I have already assembled one of them. And so all you need to do that is you're going to grab a little pin drill, and you're just going to drill a hole at the top of your piece. I'm choosing to drill near the point, but you could have them hanging the other way up if you wanted. Just drill straight through, and that shouldn't take too long. There we go. And I'll drill back through the back just to make sure that it's a nice clean hole. And then you're going to do the same for this. You're going to take that and you're going to start drilling through. And I have already partially drilled just to save a bit of time, but you would drill through like that and go through a couple of times, just reaming the hole so that it's nice and clean. I'll move that out the way. And then I have a little copper eye pin. You could use a head pin as well, but then you'd have to make 2 loops. And you just pop that on. Snip away the extra wire, and I do about a half a finger's worth, and make sure you hold both pieces when you do that so that that doesn't go flying off into someone's eye. Grab a pair of round nose pliers and create your loop, and then make sure that both of those loops line up. Okay, then you're going to grab a jump ring, open that up, apply it, place this piece on, and then grab the other pair of pliers and use that to close your jump ring. And I'm using antique copper because I think that matches with the pattern and the colours that I've got today. Feel free to use any colour you want. And yeah, it's nice and simple. But I think it's quite effective the way that the Sutton slice has been done. So I don't feel like there's too much need for anything more complicated. Let me just remove that. And that is just about it. Nice and simple. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. Would you use these colours or would you try something else? Also bear in mind that you could use an actual Skinner blend rather than creating the illusion of one. You could also use scrap clay in place of the colours that I used. I find scrap clay is quite a useful or a Sutton slice technique is a great way to use leftover clay, so that is something to consider. But yeah, if you have questions, leave them in the comments below and I'll answer them as soon as possible. And if you'd like to support the channel so I can continue creating videos just like this one, please do consider becoming a member. There is a join button just below this video, or there is a link to my Patreon account in the description below, along with a link to my Etsy store, which is another great way to support the channel. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.